Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the new screensavers is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. The new screensavers is brought to you by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost automated investment service and the most sophisticated way to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/NSS and sign up to get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/NSS. And by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/NSS to apply for a loan now. And by audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/NSS.
Our MedTech expert is back, and SSDs everywhere, live from the Twit Brick House in beautiful downtown Petaluma. It's the new Screensavers.
Welcome, everybody, to the new Screensavers, episode 46 for Saturday, March 26th, the day before Easter 2016. Iain, Thomson, welcome back from the register.co.uk.
Always a pleasure, Leo. Always a pleasure.
We got you in on at last minute. Aaron Newcomb had to bail, but we're so glad you could be here. I love doing the show with you. So
oh, no, always good fun.
Couldn't be better. We got an amazing show. I want to thank Frank from Hercules for his great show open. Thank you, Frank. Well done. Bravo. Jolly good, as they say. Coming up, our med tech expert. It's funny that there is a magazine called Meg Gadget, but there are med gadgets out there. Scott Jung will join us, and he's got one that detects particulate matter. I don't know why you'd need that, but we'll find out.
It's pollen season coming up. So
yeah. Well, I think that's what it is, actually. One that measures body temperature and a secure pill box. We're going to add a solid-state drive storage time for our ultimate virtual reality gaming machine. So we brought the king of SSDs, my buddy Alan Malventano, in. He's going to help us pick not the most sensible storage solution, the most
gaming we're talking
the most
about.
Exciting storage solution. And speaking of SSDs, we're going to talk about error rates, SSDs versus hard drives. There is a difference, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But first, the hot news of the week. I take it you watched Apple's announcement. Did you get all excited?
I was actually homesick. I had a devil of a cold that day.
You missed not a thing.
This is what the impression I got. It was a very lackluster event.
Well, not Apple's fault. I think in some ways we've just reached peak iPhone. We've reached peak iPad. What are you going to announce that's going to blow people away?
A watch strap. That's really
and a watch strap.
You know, it's
nylon watch straps.
I'm sure Steve Jobs is doing 33 revolutions a minute in his grave somewhere over this one.
I think even Steve would recognize that there comes a point where it's hard to come up with something that's just wild and new, and I presume Apple has something in the labs it's working on, but not for this week. The star of the show was Liam.
Yeah, I'm still iffy about it. I mean, what was your impression? You sound like you think it's a good thing.
Liam is a robot with a very particular set of skills. In fact, what he does is disassembles iPhones for recycling. This is actually one of the negatives a lot of people have talked about with these kinds of devices. They're disposable. They're made to be disposable, but they're not very recyclable. A recycler can't reasonably be expected to disassemble an iPhone and separate out all the parts. And so the idea that Apple can do this better with a machine, that sounds... Why do you have misgivings about it?
Well, because traditionally iPhones have been very bad for recycling because they're all crammed in, everything's glued on, the screen is very difficult to get off. If they're doing a fundamental redesign to let a robot do this, then all fair and good. But from what I heard of the announcement, it was like, well, we can take some bits out, but then we're going to junk the rest of it. Philips have been disassembling this stuff for 20 years now.
Because they've made them to be disassembled.
Exactly. So that's what Apple has got to do with its products from now on. It's got to fundamentally change its design to make them easy to disassemble and recycle.
Well, this is clearly their response to that criticism. And who knows if Liam really can break it down as well as it needs to be broken down. He has 27 arms.
I know. The announcement, it was just like, oh, this is great, this is wonderful, which instantly makes me suspicious. I'd like to see it in action before I actually get fully behind it.
One of the things came to my mind that no one mentioned is if you can build a robot to take apart iPhones,
then conversely,
you can build one to put them together.
Well, Foxconn's investing a huge amount of money in robotics.
Yeah. I would guess that's what this is really all about. Is we'd like to assemble iPhones completely automatedly. That would give us more consistent result. It would save us some money. I mean, I don't think the assembly is very expensive for Apple, but
no, but I mean, it also saves them from PR problems like having to put suicide nets around working dormitories.
Robots tend not to jump out of the window.
Exactly, unless you program them wrong. But yes, I mean, China's got this human problem in that, you know, they want to get into robotics as much as they possibly can. This could be a good way to do it. And if they can get a recycling contract out of Apple, so much the better.
Right. So I think, they win both ways, don't they?
Yeah.
Speaking of robots, I'm sure you took some joy in Microsoft's Tay AI.
Yes, they did not see that coming, did they?
Wednesday, Microsoft, but the thing I thought was interesting, in Microsoft's blog post, they pointed out that they've had a similar artificial intelligence on social networks in China for a long time, never had any problems. But they made a kind of fundamental error when they put Tay on Twitter. Tay is not, I mean, let's face it, this is not an AI breakthrough. This is Eliza, right? You remember Eliza? The artificial intelligence you'd query in a chat room, and it would just kind of parrot back to you what you said. It wasn't smart. And I think Tay is very similar to that. They made the big mistake they make, besides putting her on Twitter, was giving them Twitter a command to repeat after me. You could say, Tay, repeat after me. So almost instantly, people started saying nasty, rotten, horrible things and saying, repeat after me.
Yeah.
And well, why would Microsoft be surprised that that's what would happen?
I think possibly they were running this experiment in China, and online discourse in China is very different.
Not to mention the fact that you've got Big Brother looking over your shoulder.
That always has an impinging effect on what people say. So, I mean, I think it was, they didn't quite estimate that 4chan and the rest of them will get into this, and they just made a complete dog's breakfast out of the entire thing. It was ridiculous.
Everybody knows you don't let the internet vote.
I know.
Right? This is the worst thing you can do. The internet is, and I don't even think, I think, you know, people are making all sorts of sweeping generalizations about how horrible Americans are versus how, I don't know. This is this is kids.
Yeah.
If the first thing a kid does, you say, okay, let's show you basic 10, spell fart, go to 10, and then they do it, right? This is what kids do. And this
you remember when calculators first came out and everyone was spelling boobies on it?
Boobies.
Yeah. You know,
it's not surprising, nor is it, you know, in any way depressing. It's exactly what you'd expect. And the only thing that's sad is that Microsoft, which thought it was just going to get a big PR benefit from what is frankly a dopey AI, I mean, it's nothing special.
No.
Instead got a little bit of a black eye. They apologized on Friday. They pulled Tay within, I think, 24 hours. They said we're going to put her back. All you have to do to put her back is take out the repeat after me.
Yeah.
Duh. And by the way, all the bad things that you saw in the press that Tay said were repeat after me.
Yes, exactly. If you can get it to say it, that gives you an instant headline. Right. Not that I did that myself, of course.
Did you? Come on.
No, I didn't actually cover the Tay thing, because I was up to my neck in Google AI systems, which are being discussed this week.
A little more sophisticated, I'm sure.
A little bit, yeah. You know, they've actually got this business ready rather than publicity ready.
Yeah. Yeah, this was about publicity. This is like, well, IBM's got Watson. Quick, guys, what could we do?
Yeah,
well, I could put an AI on Twitter.
They were seeking to capitalize on the fallout from the Go game last week, and there's been an awful lot of talk about AI.
We're getting scooped here, guys.
Someone was just like, oh no, we need some publicity for our AI system. Let's put it online. What could go wrong? And well, it went wrong.
What was it? Remember Microsoft had a woman that you would query. What was her name, chat room?
Oh.
That you would query, and they would get video, and she'd go, she had attitude, and she'd go, this was when Microsoft was falling behind in search.
Was this in the early 2000s?
Yeah, what was her name? They'll come up with the name of it. I'm sure the chat room remembers this, because I remember on the TV show, we had her search for me, and she said something very rude. So, if I can find it, I will find that video clip. Speaking of asking the internet to vote, Your
Okay,
people,
I knew you were going to bring this up.
Your people. What is NERC? The national. What is? This is a UK. They built a research vessel to explore the polar regions.
Yes, this is the Research Council's vessel, which is going to be used down south. They made the catastrophic mistake of asking the internet to name it, and the name is, I'm sure you're dying to say this one, Leo.
Boaty McBoatface.
Yeah.
But that's not binding.
No, you'd have to be mad to make this sort of thing binding.
I need some British help. Who's Henry Worsley?
I've never even heard of the chap, to be honest.
David
Attenborough, national treasure.
Yeah, a documentarian.
It's bloody cold here, that's good.
Well, it's a polar Usain Bolt. Now, you got to like that one.
My favourite is coming up further on down the line.
Boatimus Prime.
I like big boats, and I cannot lie.
I love it.
That's just genius.
Yeah,
but
so needless to say, NERC will not use any of these.
Britain, it is a silly place at times, but yes.
They suggested Endeavour.
Yeah, I know, it's a good sort of, we shall go forward. And Endeavour was a famous sort of polar explorer.
Boat, right?
Yes, indeed. Performing one of the great acts of seamanship in British history and getting his crew back safely. But this one was just like, oh no, my people are not being represented well here.
Let me see, I think it was Ms. Dewey. Ms. Dewey was Microsoft's search. And here's the video of Ms. Dewey.
And gentlemen,
so they searched for me.
In this corner, weighing 157 pounds, the world's loneliest man.
That was her result for me?
Oh, good grief.
So,
sorry, I was getting a flashback of nostalgia looking at the interface.
That was 2007.
Wow.
So I feel like this is not, like Microsoft hasn't learned anything.
Oh, no.
Here it is from, this was, Callie and I did this on Call for Help.
Exactly. They're trying to jump ahead of Google and see, kind of come up with their own idea of what the future will be.
Okay. I know that sounds vain, but I know what the search results should be for my own name.
Exactly. So she thinks for a while, for a little bit.
Ms. Dewey.
And then?
There's a reason why they call the TV the idiot box, and I think I found it.
Oh, good. Burned. Ms. Dewey burned me. But I'm glad to say I'm still standing.
Okay, well...
And Miss Dewey is long gone.
Yes.
Unless they turn her into Tay, the Twitter ignoramus. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. That whole thing was a complete publicity stunt on both sides of the thing, and it just didn't work. So you're gonna. I think Microsoft. What with that and the strippers last week, Microsoft really needs to rethink its public image. Not strippers, exotic dancers.
Yeah, you wrote a great piece on that.
Oh, we've got to take it down. I mean, that's just not acceptable these days.
Now, on a serious note, one of the legends in the tech business passed away this week. Andy Grove, 79. His story is amazing. He was the CEO and chairman of Intel. I had a little to do with him. I've interviewed him several times. I always found him a great interview. And his story is amazing. He was a student in Hungary in 1956 when the Hungarian Revolution, the Spring Revolution, was shut down by Soviet tanks, you might remember, marching into the square of Hungary. So he said, I'm getting out of here. He told me the story of crawling under barbed wire across open fields, fearing dogs and guns to get into Austria. Yep. He then emigrated to the United States where he continued his studies. He got a degree in chemical engineering at the City College of New York and then a PhD at Berkeley, and got a good job at Fairchild with a guy named Gordon Moore, and of course the rest is history. But Andy was one of the nice guys and one of the smart guys in technology. And he really built, he built Intel into the giant that it became.
And the culture of engineering, I mean, when Andy came along, it wasn't until Ottolini, sort of 10, 15 years after he left, that they actually got a CEO who wasn't an engineer. Up until that point, if you wanted the top spot at Intel, then you had to be an engineer.
Right.
And when they changed that and got Ottolini in, then that caused a lot of trouble. It's still enormously dominant in the market. Quite how it does that by fair means or foul, we can't be sure. But he was really there at the pinnacle of it.
Very famously, and I remember seeing it, he didn't have an office. He was in a cubicle along with everybody else who worked at Intel.
Hewlett-Packard used to be exactly the same. They were
engineering driven, right? These guys were geeks. Just to go full circle, donated $26 million to the City College of New York and established the Grove School of Engineering. So he's got quite a legacy. So Andy Grove passed away at the age of 79, and one of the greats in the business. And I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. I am ready for a call for help. Are you?
Yep,
Would you
sounds
like
like
to?
me.
Let's do it. Call for help time. Don't ask me about Ms. Dewey. Ed from Hamilton, Ontario joins us. You might remember that Call for Help episode. Did you ever watch the show in Canada?
I did many times.
G4 Tech TV. If you missed any of those episodes, they're still airing them 10 years later, I understand.
I don't know. I haven't seen G4 on our cable system
maybe
up here lately anymore. I think they finally packed it in.
Killed it. Every once in a while, I get an email from somebody saying, I just saw a segment where you and Amber discover YouTube. Guys, get with it. But to be fair, that was 2004 or something. So what can we do for you, Ed?
I had a question. I've recently upgraded both my laptops, and they have SSD drives. And I remember you and Steve Gibson talking years ago about error rates on hard drives and that sort of thing. And I wondered, now with SSD drives, is there anything I should be doing maintenance-wise? I know you don't, from what I've heard, you don't have to defrag them anymore.
In fact, it's exactly, you don't want, whatever you do, don't defrag them. Now, it's bad for the drives. They do something called wear leveling, which is really clever. Of course, early on, people were concerned about solid-state drives because they knew that you could only read and write from a memory cell in solid state, a limited number of times. So when they designed the firmware in these things, they did something called wear leveling to make sure that all the cells get roughly the same amount of wear. And it's been my experience that SSDs are very reliable, but you know what? We have somebody to ask.
Yep, we have an expert.
We're going to talk to Alan Malventano later on in the show. He's going to help us build our virtual reality gaming machine. And I think we have, there he is. Hey, Alan, great to see you.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey. You're the king of SSDs, testing them from the very earliest SSDs for PC perspective. Is there any maintenance we should consider with an SSD? Anything we should do like we would do with a spinning drive?
So, like anything that stores data, there's ways that things will get corrupted or degrade over time. It's possible, right? SSDs try to minimize that as much as possible. Technically, so do hard drives, right? But a hard drive is a very mechanical thing, and an SSD, of course, is all solid state, so that your chances of that happening kind of go down. But there's still things that can happen, like the voltage that's stored in the cells can drift over time. And there's other mechanisms in the SSD that will try to correct that stuff. So going directly back to the question, there are mechanisms very similar to hard drives. There are things like checksums and error correction and other more advanced algorithms, just ways to figure out that A, there is an error, and B, if there is, there's some extra data that's kind of added in there that it can use to reconstruct what it couldn't read or what was missing. A lot of those algorithms, in my experience, tend to operate on the fly.
They do a very good job without any intervention on your part.
Right. Very much like a hard drive. But what I've also noticed, just having dealt with a lot of SSDs over the years, and I tend to test them in a way where I'm reading the drive front to back. So if there is an error somewhere in the middle, I'm going to see it because my test will just hang, right? There is a little bit of a benefit to every once in a while running something that will read that drive front to back.
Really? And then mark off the unusable sector.
Well, it wouldn't necessarily be an unusable sector. It might just be a sector that the firmware deems is getting, like the voltages are drifting too far over time, something like that. And you're just kind of coaxing it into doing what it would normally do when you tried to read the data later on. Right? You're just kind of trying to make it do its job a little bit sooner.
So is there such a tool?
I hate to say it, but just like anything that reads front to back, SpinRite reads front to back.
Oh, okay.
Anything that can just, something that, now you don't want to run SpinRite with such a high, a high level.
No, do a level 2 on SpinRite, which is just running it.
Something very simple. Very simple. Just read it front to back. You don't need to rewrite everything.
Okay.
Just do something that exercises the drive and make sure that everything is readable.
That's great. How about trim? There's nothing we need to do, right? Trim is, people noted early on that SSDs would initially start very fast in reads and writes and then slow down a little bit, then stabilize. And it had something to do with allocation, and trim fixes that. Most operating systems now support trim. Most drives do. Is there a trim tool we should use or anything like that?
The simplest trim tool on the planet is, it sounds counterintuitive, but if you run Windows Defragger on an SSD.
Hang on, I thought you weren't supposed to do that.
I know. Well, it is. Windows Defragger is aware that the drive is an SSD. It will not move a bunch of stuff around on
There's
it.
no need to because there's zero access time on SSDs, so there's no benefit to defragging an SSD.
There's no benefit on the SSD side from that respect, but there is some stuff in Windows, like if directory trees go too many levels deep or get kind of spread in too many different places. Like there's a few little optimizations that Windows Defragger will do to an SSD, and it will move a little bit of stuff around, but it will also look at the what's called the volume bitmap, figure out where's all the empty space.
Oh, this is great.
And it will initiate a trim. It will send trim to the drive, telling it, hey, in case you didn't already know, here's all the spots that are empty that I don't care about what's there, and it will do a kind of a forced trim of everything that's empty on the drive.
When was trim enabled in Windows? Is it Windows 8?
No, 7, I believe.
7. So use the built-in defragger in Windows 7 or later.
Yep.
And how often should I do that?
I think it defaults to have an automatic.
Oh God,
like
I don't want to do that.
schedule.
Am I going to wear my drive out if I do that?
No, remember,
No?
it's just trimming.
It's just
you're just
trimming.
telling it. Yeah, you're just telling it,
This is
hey,
brilliant.
that stuff. So ideally, an SSD that was always being trimmed as things were being deleted or moved from other places, it should already be caught up. It should already know what's actually empty and what's not. But this just kind of, just in case something slipped by,
That's
it just
brilliant.
takes care of.
See, I'm glad. This is why we have. And by the way, Alan's got how many? 30 SSDs at his feet right now.
What?
In a giant RAID, right?
I don't know. There might be a few.
Oh, they're not in use. All right.
No.
All right. When you come back, you're gonna help me buy a very nice SSD for our ultimate VR gaming machine, right?
Yeah.
All right. Any other tools and tips I should know about? This is fabulous. Spin right once in a while just to run through the whole thing, and Windows Defrag, turn on the schedule, let it do it because it's smart enough to not hurt the drive, and it will help with trim when it's necessary.
Yep.
Very good.
Excellent.
PC per.
The other thing I would say
Thanks,
about
Alan.
SSDs is you've got to make absolutely sure that you're backed up at all times. Because with platter drives, usually the motor died and it wouldn't read the drives, but you've still got the data encoded on the disks.
Right.
But with SSDs, if it goes badly wrong...
If it goes, it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. So back up religiously on this one.
That's really interesting. Ed, boy, I'm glad you asked that question. We got some value out of that I didn't expect. Who knew?
I thought, Windows defrag? Is he
I
serious?
thought that was the last thing you'd want to do. Thank you, Ed. Is he gone? Did we lose Ed? We can only do one call at a time, probably. We don't have the technology.
I'm still here. Thank you, Leo.
Oh, excellent.
Sorry, I was just being quiet. There's a bit of a delay, so I don't want to
Aren't you
jump
glad
on
you
when
asked?
talk.
Aren't you glad you asked that?
Yeah, that was excellent. That's wonderful advice. Yeah.
I just saw there's a recent. I think it was from Google. I think it was from Google, uses a lot of SSD drives.
Yeah, they issued a report about 3 weeks ago. It's easy enough to find online, where they took the SSDs that they were using in their data center and they've been mapping them day in, week in, year in, and they've built up a database of which SSDs fail most often and why. So that's a really good resource if you actually get to choose your own SSD. You can go onto this database and then just check out, see what the reliabilities are like in the real world. Because obviously a manufacturer is going to tell you, well, it'll last forever and a day, but if you're actually running these in stacks and data centers, it's a nice, useful bit of kit.
The most surprising thing from the study, and I'll have to ask Alan about this, was that the high-end, very expensive SLC drives are no more reliable than the inexpensive MLC drives.
Yeah, we're back to gold-plated HDMI cables all over again.
Isn't that interesting? And then they say, ignore the Uber or uncorrectable bit error rate specs, but the raw bit error rate, I don't know what to do with it. I can't even understand what this means. But if you're smart enough to understand this, there you go. Thank you, Google, for it's great because they probably use more drives than God.
I was looking at some footage from inside one of their data centers this week.
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
the whole
amazing.
layout of the thing.
Ed, so great to talk to you. Thank you.
Wonderful to talk to you. Yes, there's lots of stuff I don't know, so I'm sure I'll have more questions for you.
Is Hamilton, Ontario named after Alexander Hamilton?
I don't believe so.
Okay, just checking. I wouldn't expect him to be a hero up there, but you don't know. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I come from Burr, Vermont, so it's a whole nother story. Ed, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed.
Good to chat with you.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, Ed.
Who's on next week? Who's our host next week? Next week. Think. He just forgot. Alex Lindsay.
Ah.
Now, I got to tell you, something exciting's coming up. I think we're going to do the first 360-degree immersive podcast, Mac Break Weekly, on Tuesday. He's got one of those expensive Osmos. Those are the really expensive cameras. We can't stream it live, unfortunately. I don't know why, but the technology does not allow it. But we are going to make a special 360-degree version of Mac Break Weekly on Tuesday. And maybe we can get him to do, I bet we can, an immersive, not that you'd want to be immersed in this, but...
Oh, I don't know.
The new screensavers, you're soaking in it. An immersive version next week. Plus, of course, he's a video guru. If you've got any questions for Alex, here's how you ask him.
Need tech help? The new screensavers are here with answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
Our show today brought to you by Wealthfront. It is a problem we should all have. We're all saving for the future, right? Long-term savings. I don't know if it's for retirement, college fund, getting that down payment together for that house of your dreams. Or just having a nest egg in case of emergency. The problem is, what's the best way to save? It's certainly not putting it in a savings account. That'd be tantamount to putting it in the mattress. Maybe a little bit more secure, but not a lot better interest rate. So you're going to invest, right? But how do you do that? Are you going to manage the investment? Are you going to check every day, make sure you're doing well? Are you going to rebalance? Are you going to pay attention to it? Yeah, probably not. So you're going to hire somebody, right? Well, hold on there. Did you know that most investment advisors charge you 1%, 2%, even 3% of the amount of money you have under investment, not to mention transaction fees and other hidden charges? That means you have to make 3% more just to break even. That's cuckoo. With Wealthfront, you can let the computer do it. Wealthfront, you pay 0.25% a year, no commissions, never any hidden charges, and it's just the best. Based on 200 years of investment experience, their board has people like Burton Malkiel, who wrote A Random Walk Down Wall Street, bestsellers like Charles D. Ellis's Winning the Loser's Game. They took the knowledge that they have, the years of experience, and built it into the software. Plus, because the software is monitoring you continually. You get, with an investment advisor, you get their attention once a quarter when they come by and, you talk to them. This is watching your investments every second. It's not day trading, it's not high-speed trading, but it is paying attention so that if there's an opportunity to rebalance, to save money on your taxes with tax loss harvesting, it can do that. Did you know that more than 90% of portfolios are not invested properly for long term? Wealthfront has a new feature I really like. You can get this for free at wealthfront.com/NSS. It's their portfolio review. You tell Wealthfront how you've been invested, and they'll tell you how diversified you are, what portion's at risk, what you're losing to fees, even how to minimize your taxes, and that is free. You can also get a personalized investment portfolio from Wealthfront to tell you how they would invest your money. And you get that all at wealthfront.com/NSS. If you decide to invest, and I don't want you to do this unless you've read this and really kind of understand what they're doing, because I think it's super cool and absolutely right on, especially now. We really need something like Wealthfront monitoring your investment continually. But please read about it. Get that investment portfolio, get the portfolio analysis, and then if you decide you want to try it, you can get started with as little as $500. That's the minimum investment. But here's the best part. They will manage your first $15,000 free of charge forever. Not a quarter of 1 point, but zero. So wealthfront.com/NSS. Do yourself a favor and check that out. So how often, if you this is a social media makeover time. If you wanted to use Instagram for maximum benefit, how often should you post to it? We posed that question to our social media guru, Liberty Madison. Here's her answer.
Hi, I'm that tech girl, Liberty Madison. I've got a very interesting tip for you. A number of times I hear people saying, how often should I post on my Instagram account? Well, I'll tell you. If it's your personal brand, I suggest you post anywhere from 3 to 5 times a day. That's right. You heard me, a day. And if it's your Business brand, you're going to want to post from 4 to 7 times a day. The reason behind this is you need to invoke engagement from your audience depending on various time zones that people are actually logging on to Instagram. This way you hit every time zone across America. For more tech tips, please follow me on Twitter @LibertyMadison.
That tech girl, she's got her own hashtag. I need to have my own hashtag. With that old tech guy, that's not good.
Well, you do have a floppy disk on your shirt, Leo.
Do you like that?
I do, actually. That's rather nice.
This shirt goes back to the old screensavers. I've had this forever and ever. I think I used to wear it on Call for Help. Every once in a while, somebody will reach for the floppy disk in my pocket, but it's not a real one. Nowadays, everybody looks at that and said, "What's that? What is that you have?" I'm glad, Ian, that you knew. Scott Jung is here. He joins us regularly to talk about MedTech. He's a senior editor at MedGadget magazine. Hi, Scott.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
So you brought us some more toys.
I did, yeah.
What do you got?
Well, first off, for this first one, little spot on your table here.
Oh no! What are you doing? Oh my goodness!
Now, I just wiped your table with Windex, which is your typical household cleaner. This is a type of VOC, a volatile organic compound.
I can smell it from here. It's ammonia, right?
Yeah, and that along with pollen, with pet dander, with dust, all the things that are in the air right now can trigger allergies, can trigger asthma, COPD. And AllerSense is a portable device that actually can sense that.
So it has an inputs over here. Let me move the towel out of the way.
Yeah.
And that's breathing all the time. Did it smell the ammonia?
It's sniffing it right now. Yeah, it's green to indicate that the air is good, but once it detects a certain amount of VOC or particulate matter, it's going to turn red or yellow depending on the level. And the app is going to also alert you as well.
Now, is this something you can get without a physician's prescription, or do you need to have a doctor?
No, this one actually you can pre-order online on AllerSense's website for $179.
$179.
It'll ship next month.
You can't always trust your nose, especially with pollen. You may not know until it's too late and you're sneezing. And
if you have one of these by the bed, then it'll basically sort of alert you as to when it's time to shut all the windows and get everything locked down.
Pretty much, yeah. It'll help you just avoid allergies. And
Ian and I both started coughing about 10 minutes ago. We needed one of these.
Yeah.
There's something in the air. All right, cool. AllerSense. What else you have?
So this next one, this is called TempTrack. This is a tiny patch, and it's worn under your armpit, and it tracks your temperature continuously for 24 hours. In fact, I've actually been wearing one for the past 24 hours.
You have?
And it's,
so we know how hot you are. Let's see.
I'm normal.
So does this track with your body temperature, your 98.6, or is it different?
It's body temperature. Okay. So
it's a pretty good place to measure that.
Yeah, you put it on your armpit, which is where a lot of...
So you're running a little warm, 99.5. Is that cause for concern?
No, I don't think so. I've got an alert set for 100.4.
So
if my temperature ever gets that high, it'll ping my phone.
It's interesting. Who knew that your body temperature goes through these cycles, but it does. And this is part of that quantified self we talk about all the time. Yeah.
Very handy if you've got a kid as well, I should imagine, because you can strap this on and you know constantly what's going on.
Exactly. This is targeted toward kids and the elderly, babies and the elderly. You could stick the patch on. You don't even have to wake them up if they need to be monitored, if their temperature needs to be checked in the middle of the night. Just turn on your phone and
how cool.
See what their temperature is.
Now, it's Bluetooth, so it sounds like you can't get too far away.
Yeah, they say about 40 feet.
Okay.
Completely disposable, so you use it for 24 hours, and then that's all.
How comfortable it is?
It's very comfortable. It's a very flexible foam
So you
patch.
don't mind that you've got one on right now?
No, I can't even tell.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
TempTrack, how much are these?
So this one is $20, and you can
per patch.
Per patch.
So you wouldn't use this day in, day out?
No, you wouldn't. Only if your kid has a temperature.
So you can't reuse this either, or?
Right. It's a single use, but you can buy it from Amazon, Costco.com, CVS.com.
All right. Yeah. Measures your axillary temperature, Dr. Mom tells me, which is not the same as under your tongue, but at least it's a consistent result that you can measure.
That's right.
And now the U-Box.
So this is a smart pill box. It has 13 compartments that you can put basically a week's worth of pills if you take it twice a day.
Why doesn't it have 14? Should have one more. It would be twice a day for a week.
I believe it's one that you take when you fill the box for the remaining.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And the neat thing about this is actually locked. You can't actually take another dose until a scheduled specified
so
time.
if you have somebody in the family who doesn't keep track of their medication very well,
exactly.
This is like those dog feeders. It feeds your dog on schedule. It feeds the pill. So it actually goes, does it beep at you when it's time? Or?
Yeah, it's going to beep. It'll vibrate, not vibrate, it'll make a noise basically. And
Does
then
the
you'll
pill
hear
pop
the motor
out
too.
over here? And...
It doesn't pop out, but let me unlock it, and you can hear it unlock.
Oh, so you're totally controlling that with your smartphone.
And you give it a little twist.
Okay.
And then you open the container.
And there you go. There's my next day's pills. Oh, M&Ms are even better. I can get this is like a Skinner box. I can get my M&Ms fix. Am I allowed to eat these, or are these contain medication?
They are safe to eat.
Okay.
But you have to take it at your scheduled dose.
No, this is exactly what I need. You only get 4 every 3 hours, something like that. That's cool. How much is this?
So this company is doing it based on a subscription model, so it's $25 a month, and it includes the box, of course.
And of course, it keeps the pills out of the hands of small children who are always trying to get these things and think, oh, Smarty's right.
Yeah, and not only that, but medication non-adherence, not taking your prescribed medication plan by your doctor, that results in higher levels of hospitalization.
Yeah.
$300 billion in wasteful spending in our U.S. healthcare system.
And this will notify your caregiver if you don't take your meds as well. So that's really important. That's cool.
You get a phone call from the pharmacist saying, excuse me, you seem to have missed something here. No, that's Bluetooth as well, is it?
It is Bluetooth.
Right, okay.
Very good. All 3 very interesting. The AllerSense, Temp Track, U-Box. You'll find links in our show notes. And of course, you'll find out more at Scott Jung's site, which is medgadget.com.
Medgadget.com.
Scott, great, always great. You brought a bunch of stuff. We've recorded some segments for future shows because you brought a ton of stuff by. Is this field you feel like growing?
I think so, yeah. I mean, as you could tell, for example, Apple's keynote, if there was one high point that I thought was the prominence of health.
I agree.
So we know that health is very important, that it seems to be growing. And
they announced not only they've had HealthKit for some time, but they now have something called CareKit. That's something that works with your care provider so that they can do things like monitor you or monitor your medication. This is all kind of a part of the same thing.
They are huge on it. Apparently in Apple headquarters, every 10 minutes before the hour, everyone stands up and walks around because their smartwatches have just said,
so
right,
annoying.
okay, time to get up and walk.
So annoying. They've got to stagger those. It's just driving me crazy. Scott Jung, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Coming up, I'm excited. We're going to be adding some storage, SSDs, to our ultimate virtual reality gaming machine. And as I showed you, we've got our expert, our guru, Alan Malventano, standing by. They gave me 2 choices, a reasonable, inexpensive choice, and a completely unreasonable, very expensive choice. Which one will I choose? You'll find out.
I could take a guess.
Well, I'm not spending my money. It's the boss's.
Exactly.
Hang on. Oh, hold on there. Our show today brought to you by Prosper.com. If you need a loan to buy an SSD, Prosper is the place to do it. Peer-to-peer lending. This is brilliant because Prosper is reinventing the notion of a loan. Instead of going to a bank to get money, or worse, charging up your credit cards, Prosper brings people with money to lend together with people who need to borrow. You can get as much as $35,000 in as few as 5 days, and best of all, at a low fixed rate. So this is perfect for paying off those high interest rate credit cards, maybe planning a vacation, fixing up your house, anything you want. It's your money. Prosper.com/NSS, the better way to get the cash you need at a low interest rate. You want to know how low? Easy enough. Go to prosper.com/NSS. You could check your rate instantly. It will not affect your good credit. For up to $35,000 in your account in as few as 5 days, prosper.com/NSS. So I saw in the news media that the first Oculus Rifts are getting shipped out soon.
Yeah, they've been saying that for the last 6 months. It is actually going to happen this time.
Maybe. I think I did not get on that list. I don't know. When I bought one, it said May. But then, on the other hand, I am a Kickstarter contributor, so I'm one of the people who's getting a free one, and I'm hoping that they're going to serve us first. So the clock is ticking now to finish building our ultimate virtual reality gaming machine. This is designed not merely to meet the specs that Oculus Rift posted, but to exceed them in every respect.
I was going to say, you're blasting right past them with this.
This is awesome.
Superb stuff.
Awesome, and we've been using the folks at PC Perspective to help us build this. We're getting close. In fact, we have a video of me assembling the case because we got enough stuff. The motherboard, there's the power supply going in, and we had enough stuff to start doing the assembly. Now, this sped up video doesn't tell the whole story.
It doesn't have a soundtrack. I should imagine there's a certain amount of cursing
no swearing,
going on in
but
this.
see that little piece, that little I/O board in there? I assembled the whole thing, and I forgot to put that in. And then you know how you open the box, you go, what's this piece? What is it? Where does this go? Oh, if I had read the manual, I would have known. So 20 screws later, I'd removed everything, put that little piece back in it. Now we've got it. It's nice and solid. You know, it's really kind of challenging because we're going to start this up on the air, right? I mean, we're not going to start it the day before, off the air, in secret and private. We're going to actually press the on button in public. So this could be either humiliating.
I was going to say, it's either one or the other. It's either fantastic or utter humiliation.
A cause for joy. Well, one thing you've got to have, of course, for all those games, and this machine's got plenty of space for it, is a hard drive. And we thought we would ask Alan Malventano back from PC Perspective to tell us what to put in. Hello, Alan.
How's it going?
Now, great. Welcome back. I noticed on your hardware leaderboard, and by the way, this is where the inspiration comes. They have a hardware leaderboard. They keep up to date with 4 different machines, from basic to out of this world expensive, that you kind of waffled a little bit on solid state storage. What are the 2 choices?
For solid state, it's basically just a serial ATA or M.2, which is using which actually communicates over PCI Express.
Are those a lot more expensive?
They tend to be about twice as much for the same capacity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But you have to realize the drive tends to perform, like in sequential transfers, one of those drives that you're holding in your hand right there is about like between 3 and 5 times the speed of a single serial ATA drive that was half the cost. So you're getting much more performance.
And this is, for instance, what Apple did last year to speed up their solid-state drives in their laptops. They started using PCIe as the bus, right?
Yeah, they shifted to last year. Apple shifted to NVMe, which is a different protocol over PCI Express. But like even in years prior, they had been doing PCI-based SSDs to speed things up. Like I think it was the early MacBook Airs, I think even used them.
Right.
But the newer ones are using NVMe, and NVMe is. Are
we using NVMe?
You are, of course.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
So the idea behind NVMe is that the old way of communicating to a storage thing, in a computer, was at first it was like IDE, and then it was using serial ATA, and then they were using that's the physical changes. But then there were protocol changes. The older one is called AHCI, which was designed really for hard disks.
Right.
And AHCI has been used for a solid state, even PCI solid state, for a while. And eventually something had to give, right? Because the SSDs were getting too fast for the protocol. The protocol has too much overhead in the system. So the CPU has to think too much every time it wants to ask the SSD for some info.
Of course.
Right? So NVMe is a much lower level, like thinner interface. There's less stuff to get in the way. The operating system can talk more directly straight to the controller on the SSD with less extra steps for the kernel to take.
So this is an NVM Express or NVMe. We got you recommended, and I've been hearing this from you for some time that the Samsung EVO drives are really good. This is the 950 Pro. This is the latest one, right?
That is the latest one, yes.
What's the firmware in this? Is it? It used to be that was is it Sand Fine or whatever or what? So does that matter anymore?
For the firmware, I think you're mixing the firmwares with controllers. SandForce used to make serial ATA controllers.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of the parts on that, Samsung does all of their stuff in-house.
They do it all.
They make their controller, they make their flash, they make their RAM.
Okay.
So that is all like 100% Samsung components.
We don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. This is
not really.
Yeah. And this is 512 gigs. How much is this setting us back?
That drive, it comes in at 62 cents a gig. I think it's $320 right now.
You know what? They've really come down a lot.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's really not bad. I mean, you used to pay this not too long ago. You would pay this much for like a prosumer serial ATA drive.
Right.
So yeah, it's really not that expensive.
Where does this go on the motherboard? Where am I going to? It's so amazing that this is going to be the boot drive.
It's just thick. That's
it's so little.
Half a terabyte.
Yeah.
So that's a good question on that board because I'm not sure if it lays flat, and if it does, it might lay flat underneath one of your PCI cards.
I might have to take something out here, huh? All right. Well, I've done it before. I can do it again.
It should be towards the bottom, towards you.
Yeah.
And if it's not a lay flat kind of a slot, it might actually be vertical, and there might have been a bracket included with that motherboard to help support it. So, I think I see it right there.
I see it right here. Is this it right here?
Yep. You just pointed to it. Is that a vertical or a horizontal slot?
It looks like a...
I don't know. Let me just jam it in here and see what happens.
Oh, dear.
Oh, well, what could possibly go wrong? It looks like it's going to be a horizontal slot.
Okay, so you're going to want to
have to remove the sound card first and put it in there. But that's roughly where it's going to go.
Yep. So the safer way to insert those, just so you're curious, in case you're curious, is you want to come in at a slight angle. You don't need to be completely flat.
And then snap it down.
It's not even a snap. You basically, if you have the angle right, it will basically just fall right into the slot.
Well, give me a screwdriver. You guys, let's see. Maybe I can. No, I need a screwdriver. A Phillips screwdriver. I can remove this. But by the way, I feel like 512 gigabytes.
It's amazing.
It's so scanty. Shouldn't we have more storage?
I mean, you could. Samsung is going to release a 1 terabyte. Samsung's going to release a 1 terabyte model of actually that drive soon.
Well, we can't wait that long. So we bought not 1, but 2 3 terabyte Western Digital Red drives.
Okay, so that's for your mass storage.
This is for the games where we need a lot of data, and I think 6 terabytes should be enough.
Yeah,
should be enough for anybody. But there's room in here. Why not? Right?
The way that you should configure that system, if you were trying to just be your typical gamer, you're putting everything in one system, and even assuming you don't have a NAS or something in your house, just this is gonna be it, like all your stuff, right? You should probably run those Reds in a RAID 1. Which is a mirror.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That way I only have 3 terabytes storage, but it's duplicated. It's mirrored.
Everything's duplicated.
Yeah.
And not only that, but with the way the Intel controller handles RAID 1, when you read from a RAID 1, it acts like a RAID 0.
In other words, from a RAID 1, a mirrored array, it acts like a striped array.
Correct. The Intel controller is optimized enough to where the data is in 2 places, so it just stripes it as if it was a RAID 0.
Interesting. All right.
And it ends up getting 2 times the drive performance when you're reading. That's kind of where it's more important.
That's what you want,
right?
though, right? Yeah. I don't mind slow writes if I get fast reads, especially for gaming.
Your writes, chances are, it's a game install
small amount
of
data. Right.
Well, not just a small amount of data, but the rate that it's coming into your system is limited by your internet.
Right. And I only do that once. I'm thinking of game saving, and that's a small packet of data. The biggest thing is the read, where you're reading massive textures in. You want that to be as fast as possible. So that's what we'll do. We'll set this, and the motherboard. This is motherboard RAID. Furthermore, we always, I always was nervous about RAIDs from BIOS, but it's gotten pretty good now. It's pretty reliable. Or should I get a Promise RAID card?
No, it's been for just 2 hard drives. Intel RAID is more than sufficient.
All right. So I took the sound card out, and I think I now have access to this slot. And I'm gonna. By the way, this thing is so small. We lost it for a minute there. I don't know if you, while you were talking, there was panic as I was going. Where did I put that? What did I do with it? But
now there's something else you're going to want to look at before you put that in.
Yeah. Should I look for the bracket in the motherboard box? Will there be a bracket?
There is not a bracket for that one because it's horizontal.
Okay.
There will be a standoff. screwed into the motherboard in one of those 4 locations. You see those 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
so I
one
need
of
a
them is gonna
standoff?
Well, is there a standoff in any of those 4? I can't tell from the video.
It's not very tall if it is a standoff. It's slightly raised.
Yeah, there might be a standoff included in the box.
That will hold this end. Oh, I see, because it has a little notch there for a screw.
So you don't want to.
Should I put this in first and then attach the standoff? Yeah, it seems like that's where it's going to come down right there.
The standoff is going to screw in underneath the end of it.
I need it underneath. So we need the motherboard box because we put everything in the motherboard box. But for the meantime, I'm going to just try angling this.
Yeah, you can just lay it in there.
And
but
then,
just for those watching the video, they should just be aware that there usually is a standoff.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes already installed in one of those places on the board.
And I can see why, because it goes in very easy. It's not really. You need something to hold it in.
Yeah, at an angle, it just basically falls in because that's how it's meant to be inserted.
And then I will screw it down in the standoff here.
Yep.
Is that what you're saying? Okay, good. I know you can hardly see in there, but all right, excellent.
No, I got it.
Yeah. And then I'm sure also, as long as we're getting the motherboard box, there's going to be brackets for these spinning drives as well. Now, we chose red. Why red? I always get confused. There's green, black, red. These are the Western Digital drives. What's red?
They've actually recently phased out green. It kind of changed into what's called blue, which is just like their generic consumer drive.
Okay.
Reds are optimized more for being in a RAID.
So that's why we got them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So these are designed for NASes or some sort of RAID environment. In this case, we're going to take these 2 3-terabyte drives and we're going to put them in RAID, mirrored RAID 1, so that we have some data redundancy on here.
Yep, and as you were talking about earlier, it's also a very good idea to have your SSD occasionally backing up to those mirrored drives.
Good thinking.
Yep.
All right, we believe that we have found the standoffs. It sure looks like these are 2 little screws. Should they be metal?
It should just be like a simple standoff and a screw.
Yeah, that's what it is. Simple standoff and a screw. All right. So I'm going to do this later because that's definitely going to get lost, and I don't want to have to find it on camera. But there you go.
Yeah.
So that's actually a good tip though. So that you find the standoff, put the standoff in before you put in the SSD. Lay in the SSD. It goes in very easily. Then flatten it and screw it in place, right? So that way it's not going to rattle around.
Yep.
Alan, I feel fortunate that we had you here. Otherwise, it could have been a repeat of when I assembled this case last time.
There'd be some random screw you just kind of put in.
I don't know what this extra screw here is for. I'll just screw that down there.
You know you're really in trouble when you put the case back on and you lift it up
and it rattles.
There's something in there. You're like, no.
Nothing's going to rattle on this one. I'm being very, very cautious. So I'm going to put the standoff in before I put the memory back in, right? And that just screws very easily.
There's one simple note for when you're finally doing your operating system install on this.
Yes.
Since that is a NVMe drive.
Yes.
You are going to want your Windows installer to be a UEFI type installer.
Because it's an NVMe drive, I need a UEFI installer.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you have got like a retail Windows 10 USB installer, you'll be good because that's how they come.
But if I'm making an ISO, I have to use a special UEFI boot drive maker to make it work.
You would want to use, that tool named Rufus?
Yeah.
Just a very simple...
Rufus will do that?
You want to use Rufus, but you can't go with the default. You have to choose a couple of options down, which is specifically UEFI, and it forces it to be UEFI. Right. You don't want the CSM, which is called the Compatibility Support Module.
Right.
CSM is for the older stuff. You have the brand new stuff.
Yep. Right. And that means, of course, that I can never put Linux on this again, right?
No,
I'm
you
just
can.
joking. I'm just teasing. Well, UEFI had a bad reputation for a while as being making it very hard to put anything but Windows on a machine.
That was the secure boot stuff, which was just something that was tossed in there, but not UEFI's fault specifically.
Right. Actually, that's right. Okay,
more Microsoft's fault.
We're going to use Rufus.
You're putting this in.
Hey, you know what? This is what this show's all about. Making the mistakes so you don't have to. I wish I had This is one where I wish I had a magnetic screwdriver. Those are okay to use, right?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that screw is.
Maybe aluminum. All right, now I think I'm ready.
There we go.
There he goes.
This is like brain surgery. I think the patient.
I'm waiting for the operation buzzer to go off.
Nope, it's in there. It's solid. I don't think that's going anywhere. Look at that. That's hard to believe that's the boot drive.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's just insane.
We'll leave.
Absolutely bonkers.
We'll leave these Western digital reds for later. We'll put those in later. But okay. So we're going to use Rufus to install Windows on this. This will be our boot drive, and I presume applications as well on the SSD. And then we'll use the RAID 1 dual 3 terabyte drives for data drives. And that way we'll have the speed, but also some redundancy.
Yep,
Excellent.
you put your bulk data on there. But I would recommend, if you have a full half a terabyte there, you can get away with the majority of your games also installed to that.
Yeah, I'll put the games on there. That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so what I would recommend as for your kind of typical gamer that's going to have, a round of games that they're going to want to play, chances are half a terabyte will be able to hold the ones that they're playing right now. And then if you need to clear the space off later, you can just use Steam's export feature and just wrap up the game so you don't have to re-download it. Yeah. But export it over to the 3 terabyte drives.
Right, locally. And then I will also keep an image of our boot drive up to date on the extra spinning drives so we can always restore that 512.
Yep.
Man. Alan, it's great to see you again. Thank you so much for being here.
It's been an education.
Isn't he great?
Yeah.
Alan Malventano, and of course, if you read PC Perspective, you know Alan and his great work. PCPER.com. I'll be calling you when it's Rufus time.
All right.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks.
This is fun. We're getting there.
Yep.
We're very close. I was just informed that that according to Oculus, they are shipping the Kickstarter editions next week.
Ooh, okay.
So we better hurry. We better hurry. Has anybody bought Windows 10 for this thing? Oh, it's free. That's right. We don't have to worry. I'm going to have to go out and buy something I haven't done in a long time, a boxed copy of Windows 10.
Oh, bless.
to put on this
still buy
thing.
them boxed?
Yeah. For this exact occurrence, right? And Rufus, we're going to put it on Rufus. Or we'll buy it, it'll be UEFI in the box. Is that how they sell it now? Do they sell, when you get Windows in a box, it comes with a USB key? That's awesome. That's your boot disk. Nice. And that will be, of course, UEFI.
Well, it beats a stack of floppy disks. I mean, that was just...
I've installed Windows that way. I have indeed. All right, coming up, we got some mail in our mailbag, and Jason Snell's going to join us with a tip. But first, I want to talk a little bit about Audible.com. Do you ever listen to audiobooks?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Love the audiobooks. As some of you know, because I can't stop singing, I went to see Hamilton this week on Broadway. And naturally, before I went, what did I listen to? The biography of Alexander Hamilton that the show is based on by Ron Chernow. It is great listening. Now, this could be your book free. We're going to show you how you can get a free book, but it doesn't just have to be that. Oh, they have an abridged one. I probably should have gotten that one, because this unabridged version is 37 hours long, has all the details that are not in the play. But no, you know what? I love listening to biography. I've listened to so many biographies. In fact, I'm going to get his George Washington biography next. It's the one he followed up with. If you like Walter Isaacson's Steve Jobs biography, he's very famous for his Ben Franklin biography. So I love history and I love reading it, but also I love science fiction. Just finishing up Neil Stephenson's latest 7 Eves. Then I'll be on to the new book from one of my favorite authors, William Gibson. His new book is just out on Audible. See, this is a great thing about Audible. Over 200,000 titles, and all of the best, there it is, The Peripheral, all of the best newest titles come out on Audible at the same time as they hit the bookstore. Used to be a little different, but now, everybody knows if it's a bestseller, it's going to be on Audible, and I love that. They've also taken some classic science fiction, and in their Audible Frontiers series, they're recording those for the first time. A huge Audible fan. I want you to try it today. The deal is your first book is free if you go to audible.com/NSS. You'll be signing up for the gold plan. That's a book of a month. It's a subscription plan. You also get the daily New York Times or Wall Street Journal digest read to you. That's very handy in the car. when you run out of podcasts, you got some newspapers to read. Try it, please. Audible.com/NSS. If you've never tried Audible before, you are gonna love it. And we thank them so much for their support of the new screensavers. It keeps your wife sane?
Oh, during the commute, audiobooks are just perfect for that sort of thing.
I actually want to commute again so I can listen to audiobooks. Now I have to do it. My commute is so short. I get like 3 sentences and I'm here. Sometimes I drive around the block 5 times. That's why I'm late a lot. It's like, oh, I got to finish the rest. It's too bad. Isn't this sweet?
I'm very, very, very jealous of this.
We could almost start it up. We're very close, right?
You're not that far off. What have you got left to put in now?
I got to put the sound card back.
Yeah.
What else?
Small but important point.
What else do we? Huh? Cables. Oh, cables. There's no power to anything right now. That's all right. We'll do all of that.
No liquid cooling system.
Oh, that's what else we have to install. No, there's a liquid cooling system.
Okay,
we haven't installed that yet. We got a few more things to do, and of course, the peripherals and all of that, the keyboard, the mouse. And I think we picked a very nice monitor. Not that we'll need one, because they're going to be wearing a helmet all the time. All right, we're going to do the mailbag in just a second, but first, Jason Snell with a tip on how to use your Sonos to listen to more podcasts. Gotta like that.
Hey everybody, Jason Snell here. I bought a couple of Sonos speakers for my house and I love them, but one of the things I love to do on external speakers is listen to podcasts using a third-party podcast app. Unfortunately, Sonos' support for podcasts isn't very good, and although it will let you stream podcasts from your iPhone, it will only do that if you're using Apple's podcast app. Fortunately, you can add support for Apple's AirPlay format to Sonos by downloading a free project called AirSonos. Now, you have to install a couple of things. You need to install jQuery, but there's a double-click installer to do that. Then you install AirSonos, and you're up and running. It is literally that simple. It will find all the Sonos devices on your network and add them, and then if you're using an iPhone, you'll get a little pop-up that lets you choose between your iPhone, any Bluetooth devices, and any AirPlay devices in your house. Suddenly, your Sonos speakers will be there. So if you've been frustrated about not being able to AirPlay to Sonos, now you can. Check out AirSonos. For a lot more about Apple and related technologies, visit my website at sixcolors.com.
That is awesome. I didn't even know about that. I'm going to go home and do that right away. AirSonos. That's really cool. You ready for a mailbag, Ian?
Always good fun, yeah.
By the way, thank you for being here. It's always really love having you in here.
No,
really
it's
fun.
It's always good fun. Yeah.
At theregister.co.uk, roll in the mailbox bag box thing.
Spinning wheels of death.
Now I don't know if you celebrate, but if you do, I think you might want pink or blue. Here, you be a boy bunny. I'll be the girl bunny.
Yeah. Okay.
Easter's tomorrow. You don't have.
I wasn't aware that humiliation was part of this, but happy zombie Jesus Day to you anyway.
So you don't have kids, so you don't have to do the Easter egg hunt.
No.
Do you and your wife dye eggs? Is that in Britain, do they do that?
It's more a European thing, actually, but we don't do it in the UK as much. We just get large chocolate eggs and scoff them all.
Well, we do that too. And of course, Cadbury's famous for their eggs with a gooey, creamy center.
Oh, the Cadbury's cream egg. You can actually get, I'm not lying on this, a deep-fried Cadbury's cream egg in a chip shop in Scotland. It's one of the most repulsive things you can possibly put in your mouth, but you can buy them.
Cadbury's different in the UK. Thank you for focusing on my ears. Cadbury's different in the UK than it is here, isn't it?
Yeah, they use half the amount of cocoa solids over here that they do in the UK.
So it's more chocolatey there?
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can tell. I mean, this is why I get my chocolate sent in from the UK.
Oh, you can do that?
There's a constant flow of journalists coming here who bring me sort of under the diplomatic pouch, sort of Milky Bars and Mars bars and Twixes and that sort of thing.
So it tastes very different?
It does. You can instantly tell the difference.
Dang it, I'm going to have to do that. You start.
Okay, right. This one is the bane of my existence. Paul from San Diego asks, what is the best way to clean dust from inside a laptop? Now,
I didn't know you could clean dust from the inside of it.
Oh yeah, and it's really important that you do. I mean, I know we're both cat owners, or at least servants to furry masters.
Yeah.
But cats love laptops.
They do.
They love
they're
on keyboards.
warm. Yeah.
So you will constantly come home and find the cat sitting on the laptop, purring away, just like, oh, got a lovely warm spot, and dunking tons of cat hair into it. So first thing you don't do is blow into your keyboard, because you've got all the moisture in your lungs and in your mouth. You get tiny sprays
it just makes
of
it
water.
sticky.
Yeah, it makes the dirt sticky, makes it hang around for longer.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
also water and electronics don't mix.
Right.
Now, second thing, get a can of compressed air.
Okay.
Vitally important, you know, one with a little straw on.
Yep.
That way you can go through the keys themselves and get rid of the outer gunk. But then with pretty much every laptop, taking the keyboard out is the easiest thing in the world.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I'm a ThinkPad user, for example, and there you just got to undo a couple of screws, click the keyboard forward, and you can lift it straight up, then get the compressed air, and you can just
Blow it out
blast the
there.
interior.
You sound like a guy who's done this a few times.
I've always lived with cats, you know, and it's when you notice your laptop is starting to really heat up quickly, then it's like, okay, Fluffy's been sitting on this one now. But yeah, I mean, seriously, getting the keyboard off a laptop is usually one of the easiest ways to get inside it.
Yeah. iFixit, I'm sure iFixit has for most laptops a guide on how you could take the back off or the keyboard off. So don't just pry away at the keyboard.
No.
Find out how to remove it.
There's always a specific engineered way to do it.
Right.
And just getting a screwdriver and that's a broken laptop.
Yeah. Yeah, don't break your laptop. Here's one from Jason. He says, hello, Leo and Ian. Have you talked about Intel's Compute Stick? I'm curious about your take on this device. I've thought about getting one to use it as a media streaming device as well as a VLC player from the micro SD. Seems like a perfect device. I'd like to see your take on it. You know, I haven't. There's a whole category of inexpensive computers out there, starting with the Raspberry Pi at $35.
That's what kicks it off.
Intel's is only about $100, but it's quite compromised. I mean, at that price. So the idea is this is a computer on a stick with an HDMI port. You would have to add a keyboard and mouse, either Bluetooth or USB. It has, as you mentioned, a micro SD card slot, a USB 2 port, but what it lacks is RAM. It's only 1 gig of memory. I think they have more expensive ones that might have 2 gigs, but the ones I've seen are 1 gig, which is not a lot, and 8 gigs of storage, which is even less. But as you say, if you put your content on the SD card,
I've got to say, I was disappointed it was USB 2 as well. I would expect USB 3.
It's not like state of the art.
No.
It's also a little bigger than I expected. I don't know why, because I've seen the Android sticks, which are really quite small. They look like thumb drives. This is pretty big. Yeah, this is not Chromecast size, and it has vents because it's got an Atom processor. It's going to heat up. There's the USB port. This is like a Kensington lock, as if somebody would come and. Oh no, that's not. This one is. So somebody would come and steal your USB stick. You can lock.
They're still using the Kensington lock ports.
There's a micro USB port, an on-off switch, and an SD card, micro SD card slot. And of course, this end is HDMI. Should we try it on here? I don't know.
Let's give it a shot.
I don't know if it'll work. Do you have an HDMI port over there?
I do indeed.
All right. Well, I'll let you plug this in. And then, as I mentioned, we've got to have a keyboard and a mouse, so if you would do the honors. Now, some of these come with Windows 10. The less expensive ones, this one was about $88, come with Linux. And I think if you're going to make a streamer, Linux might be the right choice. If you're going to use this for your TV, you might end up wanting to use Bluetooth keyboard and mouse.
Extension cable, I think.
Give it to Alex. He'll find a way to get this into power here. He's the king. You think you'll have enough juice from the TV? Let's see.
Let's see.
Is it booting? It's booting. Something's happening.
So it's purely powered from the TV itself. Interesting.
Doesn't need a whole lot of juice, it looks like. And it's booting up into Ubuntu. I think it's a Ubuntu 14 point, whatever, the LTS version.
Microsoft running SQL Server 16 on.
Yeah. You could run SQL Server, which is good news. I like this idea. You know what it'd be great for? Maybe a Minecraft server, or I think most people would probably, because it's plugged into the TV, want to use this with XBMC or Plex or some sort of media device. It's even got Wi-Fi. See, it sees the Wi-Fi built in. Look at that. And we're already booted into Ubuntu, and we're getting through the startup process. So that's pretty cool, powered from the TV.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It saves you an extra plug socket, certainly, but I don't know. For a media streaming device, I'd be almost tempted to get just something simple like a Chromecast that you can just plug in and it doesn't really matter if it works that much.
We just learned on Wednesday that Vizio is releasing its Performance Series TVs. And I think I got this wrong. Somebody was asking us about this, and I thought it was the reference version. The performance versions, which are quite reasonably priced, will come with a Android tablet because they've got Chromecast, Google now calls it Googlecast, built into the television set. So this is going to be a very interesting new TV. It is a very high end. It supports UHD Premium, and that means high dynamic range. And Scott Wilkinson says it's a very nice TV, and the prices are surprisingly good. Well, it's been really fun. Thank you so much, Iain Thomson. Register.co.uk. Looks very nice in his sequin bunny ears.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I told my boss I was doing this show, I'm hoping to goodness he's not watching, because this is not my highest moment in terms of gravitas.
Well, I think the boss knows that already.
Well, yes, we do work together for quite some years now, and he's used to it.
At least I let you wear the blue ones, and I chose the pink.
This is it.
We do the news screensavers Saturday afternoons, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 2200 UTC if you want to watch live. If you can't, though, as with all of our shows, on-demand versions are available on the website, in this case, twit.tv/NSS. There it is, me and Patrick. And you can also subscribe on all the podcast platforms, including, of course, Overcast for audio. And many of the Twit apps, all of the Twit apps, I believe, have the show. And they're on every platform. Thanks for being here, and we will thank you to our live audience, too. We appreciate your presence. We'll see you next time on the New Screensavers. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.